Okay, I've been straightening some cane lately, and I'm going to show you how I do it on video. But at first I'm going to discuss the different types of cane that I have. Now, I don't know exactly what the species names are. I might put that in the descriptions of the video, and try to be more clear if I miss something. Alright, so I'm going to be straightening two different types of cane. This one here, which I think is switch cane from North Carolina, and this here, which is river cane from East Texas. Okay, you can see there's a difference between this what I think is switch cane or Tonkin cane from North Carolina and this East Texas river cane. Pretty much the same diameter outside, but the wall thickness is quite different. Now I have some Tonkin cane or Japanese bamboo from the store that I bought, and the walls are pretty thick also, comparable to the switch cane on that side. Alright, this is from the store. This here, I think I got it at Home Depot. Now, the store bamboo is for tomato stakes, usually, right? You buy it for tomato stakes. But you can make arrows out of it, but it's pretty dicey. Maybe 1 out of 3 pieces will make an arrow. Okay, I'll show it to you here. I don't know if I have time to straighten the store-bought cane, but it's not too bad actually. It's got some thick nodes, but they're fairly easy to sand down without reducing the strength. The only problem with this is when you buy it from the store, it has these stems already cut off. Alright, and sometimes the cuts aren't very precise and they'll cut into the main shaft. Alright, you don't want that. This one is okay. It did cut into the main shaft a little bit here into the node, but this can be sanded. I wouldn't sand it totally flush, but at least I can carve this out or carve this off and then smooth it down to make it look more like this one here. You know, just shave it down with a knife, smooth it, and then take some sandpaper and when you got thick walls like this, you can, you know, sand it before or after you straighten. A lot of guys do minimal dressing on the nodes and then straighten so the nodes stay strong, and then once it's straight they'll sand it down smoother. And in some cases, especially with Tonkin cane, you can smooth it down all the way and make it flush, but I usually don't do that. You'll see there's YouTube videos on Korean arrow makers that they will shave the nodes all the way flush with the shaft, and you can do that with Tonkin cane. But with the store-bought stuff and the stuff that grows in the United States, the walls are usually too thin to, you know, sand it or machine it down flush. Okay. Now, I got a piece I straightened earlier with the first type of material I showed. I'm going to call it switch cane from North Carolina, even though the walls are really, really thick, much thicker than normal river cane. Now, that's about as straight as I can get it. And the nodes, I sand these nodes down, but they're not totally flush. Okay. Again, this is, I think it's switch cane. I do have other varieties. I'll just show you real quick. This is Japanese arrow bamboo, grown in the U.S. In a garden and given to me by a friend. And it's excellent stuff. Japanese arrow bamboo. It's lightweight. The walls are not as thick as Tonkin, but it comes pretty straight. This is a raw state, and they look pretty good, even without being straightened. And the nodes are easy to work with. They might have a few leaves here and there. In this case, yeah, there's a little leaf here. Pretty minor stuff. The nodes look pretty good. Okay, the diameter. I'm not going to get into the diameters in this video. I might put it in the descriptions, but they vary. It'd be too involved for me to get into what diameters are what poundage, because the wall thickness varies and the thickness of the shaft itself on the outside varies. A good rule of thumb, I think, would be just to get, let's see, 3/8 inch at the bottom. Let me just. This is Japanese arrow bamboo, if I didn't mention that. So it's going to be different. All these canes are different, and every batch of cane that you find is going to be different. But I think this one's a little bit over 3/8. This is river cane from East Texas. It's right at 3/8. I don't know the poundage of this particular piece, I don't think. I know the weight of it, 412 grains. But again, the length is important. This one is 3 feet. All right. And just to give you an idea of the diameter, I can't see that far. I know it's not a 1/2 inch. It might be a little greater than 3/8. Okay. So for river cane, I would say 3/8 inch is a good rule of thumb for the base. And it varies a lot as far as the other skinnier end. Okay, so I showed you Japanese arrow bamboo, store-bought bamboo, North Carolina switch cane, East Texas river cane. I've got a batch from Florida that I think is river cane. Alright, it's not Tonkin. It may be a variety of arrow bamboo, but it was from a different friend sent to me from a batch in Florida. And this is what I used in my other video on how to make river cane arrows. I call this river cane, but the more I look at it, the more it looks like some variety of arrow bamboo. Very similar to the Japanese arrow bamboo in the nodes and so forth. But it's heavier. It's more dense than the Japanese arrow bamboo here. This might be an odd batch, I don't know. But the stuff from Florida, the canes that I got from Florida that I made the other video on making river cane arrows, seems to be either a hybrid or a non-native species of cane. Alright? To me, I'm not an expert at this, so it may be river cane. It certainly doesn't look like this river cane from East Texas. There's quite a bit of difference in the nodes. Okay, so I'll be straightening one of these and show you how I do that. Okay, so this is from Florida. I made my other video with this type of stuff. It's excellent material. I don't know if I'll be able to get any more of that. I showed this already. Now the switch cane in the raw state looks like this, and sometimes you get these stems. You'll have to cut these down and sand it. I like to cut them down and sand it before I straighten. You know, I don't sand it flush, of course. I sand it, let's see, the intermediate stage would be like this, where I eliminate the stem and I sand the nodes down just so they can be smoother, not completely smooth and not flush. I just get rid of the stem and get rid of the lumpiness and all the little leaf remnants in here in this little recess. Just little leaf remnants in there. I just scrape that out with a knife. You know, I just go in there and I scrape these pieces of leaf out, but not too much. I don't want to scrape too much off before I straighten. Right, so this is before I straighten. So this is a natural or raw state of this North Carolina switch cane. Okay, and sometimes it's really dirty. I tend to sand off or scrape off that mold. It comes off pretty easy, actually. It's a light sanding or scraping. So you can scrape off the outside totally, or you can leave it on and just sand it. There's a shell, a hard shell on the outside of these canes. You can scrape that off. I've seen Korean arrow makers with their arrow bamboo video. There's one video I like. There's a Korean arrow maker, a master arrow maker, who scrapes off the entire outside shell of, I believe he uses Tonkin cane, scrapes off the entire exterior and sands down all the nodes flush and then straightens it. Okay, you can do that with a thick wall bamboo or Tonkin, like I said, but most of these canes you find in the United States are going to be fairly thin walled, you know, more like this here. So it's risky to sand down the whole entire node. All right, I think that's it as far as varieties of cane that I have. There's one more. It's very different, but it is also a native to the United States, and that's Phragmites reed. So you have river cane that's native to the United States. It's the only bamboo native to the United States, river cane. And then you have Phragmites reed, which is also native to the U.S., but it's a totally different species, and it's very lightweight. The walls are, of course, thinner, but it's got a larger diameter, and you can get a 50-pound spine pretty easy. All right, and you can see the nodes are totally different. This is the raw state here. I did peel off the leaves. There's still some remnants left on some of this. Once in a while you'll get a little stem. Those are no big deal. The leaves are easy to remove. Okay, this is Phragmites reed. Alright, so those are the varieties I have. Now the way I straighten these is either over a fire, or I cheat and I use a heat gun. I just put it on the floor. It's just sitting on the floor. It's got a flat back to it. Just sit on the floor. This one's got two settings, medium and high. I just use the medium. it's not expensive. Now I had some failures earlier with the cane, with the switch cane from North Carolina, and it fails at the node. And in this case, I was trying to get the nodes a little bit too straight. And I was really trying to straighten out these nodes and pushing the limits, and I got some failures on it. So when I straighten this out, when I straighten these out, I'm going to try a different technique. Here's another node failure here. Okay. So what I do, I usually wear a glove on one hand, just because sometimes I get surprised by the heat, and just a stick with a hole in it, and I ream it out so it's not a sharp edge anywhere. This is about, I don't know what, almost an inch wide. I mean, an inch thick. It's just a piece of mulberry. Alright, so I use this instead of my other one. I have two different straighteners. I think I've shown this on different videos. This one's a little more easy on the bends. I do a larger radius bend with this one here, but with the cane, especially at the nodes, I need a tighter radius bend. So if I use this, it'll put a tighter bend in the cane when I bend it. Let's see. I bend it like this. This puts a tighter radius than this one here. This one's a lot easier on the cane, but I can't get those really bad wrinkles out with this one. So I just use this for the whole process. Okay. So I just heat. On previous videos, I said to heat the compression side. On this, you can heat it all the way around. Try not to get it discolored. A little bit of discoloration is okay, but once you start getting discoloration, you're damaging the wood, especially the hard coating on these. It'll start flaking off. Okay, so I heat the compression side mainly, but I'll go all the way around. Now on this, the nodes are going to fail if I put too much stress on them. So what I do is, instead of straightening it right there at the node, I'm going to bend it a little bit further to the side. I'll show you what I mean. See, I'm not going to put the straightener right at the node and bend it. I'm going to back off a little bit and bend the main shaft, or bend this straight part, so that you get kind of just a dip in the middle. And I can go back and I can straighten this out a little bit too, so there's not so much of a bend there. Let's see what happens. Right, so when I try to take out this little dip under here. You see how it's straighter now? This side comes down. So now I gotta bend this upward. You know what I mean? And I'll have a little depression in the middle here. I know some guys will try to straighten the node itself. Okay, but that's where the failures occur. That's where you get these failures at the node. If you try to straighten the node itself. So I back off a little bit and bend it around here. I don't know if you can see it. It has discolored. It has discolored a little bit. Alright, so you can see there's still some bulging here, but I'm gonna continue down, and I'm gonna skip that for now. Let's see if I can make it look straight by bending some more of this down here. Now, when I first started the video, I heated this part, I bent it a little bit, then I went over here and I heated this and I bent that, and I went back over here and bent that again. Normally I don't do that. I start with the heat here, bend here, then apply heat there, bend there, then apply heat as I go down and bend. I don't go back and forth because you can, unless it's all cooled down, it'll go back to its original shape, and you don't want to do that. And you know, bending here, you know, when you go back and forth, you can actually undo your work at the previous spot. You know what I mean? So I start heating, bend, heat, bend, heat, bend, heat, bend, and work my way down all the way until I get to the other side. And then I set it off to cool, do another few shafts, and then come back to it when it's cooled down, and then see if I can get it straighter. The same process. I heat, bend, heat, bend, heat, heat, and bend as I go. Now some guys do the nodes first. They'll heat, they'll bend the node or around the node in the other areas, whatever, and just heat and work the node, go down to the next node, heat, work the node, go down to the next node, and so forth, and then set it aside. And when they come back, they'll heat and straighten the center part between the nodes, and then go to the next one, heat and straighten the center part, go to the next one, heat, straighten the center part, and see if it all matches up. Okay, I don't personally do it that way. I just heat and straighten, heat, as you know, I should say heat and bend, heat and bend, heat and bend, and I look down the whole shaft as I'm doing it. I try to get it straight on the first pass, as straight as I can, set it off to cool, then come back to it, and then refine it. Come back and same way all the way down. Okay. I should have been heating while I was talking. Anyway, the distance I use is, 2 to 4 inches. I usually don't heat way up here because I get impatient, but I'll keep it. You don't want it too close because it'll burn right away on the outside. And of course, with thicker walled cane or bamboo, you need to heat it for longer periods. Make sure it's fully dry first. The Korean arrow masters, they'll drill a hole in each node to allow gas to escape because they use a lot of heat. I don't use all that much heat, so I never really drill into the nodes to let steam escape. I try to dry the cane as much as possible before I do this, at least a year. Now, some guys don't have a year to wait, so I would recommend either buying Tonkin cane from a supplier that's already dry, or buy the store-bought, or buy the store, tomato steaks, because they're already dry. Try to work with those. But I'll tell you from experience, tomato steaks are not really good to work with. Sometimes you'll find a good batch, sometimes you won't. Sometimes they're cracked lengthwise. Sometimes in the process of removing the stems, they'll cut the shaft, and various other problems with the store-bought tomato steaks. So to me, that's the last resort. If I'm going to make cane arrows, it's going to be about a year wait. The same with Phragmites reed. I like to dry that out completely also. I've seen guys stick them in ovens at 250 degrees for 24-hour periods, cool down for 24 hours and heat again another 24 hours, that kind of thing. And I think it does work to dry them out in an oven if you have a wide enough oven. I don't think a 36-inch piece like this will fit in a normal kitchen oven. It might fit diagonally, but I doubt it. I think the longest you can get into a regular kitchen oven, it would be a 27-inch piece of cane, but it can be dried that way quickly. It can be dried quickly. You'll have to look up how to do it, because I've never done it that way. I've just seen it done. I've also heard stories about tempering. Some bamboo and cane can be tempered, which means it's basically heat hardened to where the whole shaft looks brown from heat. The whole shaft is discolored, and it ends up being harder and more dense after you have heated to a high temperature, probably about 300 to 350 degrees, I imagine. I don't know. But I don't know anything about that, really. I just heard about it. I don't do it for my arrows. I don't temper the cane or the bamboo. I went back and forth there because I noticed I forgot a little bendy spot. Again, I don't try to do much bending at the node, because the nodes will fail. and right above the nozzle here. Sometimes I go off to the side so it doesn't continue to heat, but a lot of times I keep it in the heat while I'm doing this. That's a pretty bad bump in there, right here. I'm going to try to straighten that a little bit. I might go back and forth here. And I might jump from one side of the node to the other, bending here and then bending there and then rebending that side and then continuing. And these little bends, they sometimes leave little dents. It's okay if they're very minor, but if you get a big dent in there, you've pretty much ruined it. I don't know, the first pass, I don't try to get it absolutely perfect. If you spend a lot of time on it and then it breaks down here, you've wasted some time. And I always start at the thick end first. It just seems to work better that way. But most of my breakages will occur at the thin end, so I don't spend a whole lot of time at the beginning getting it perfect. And on these, I'll have to try to anticipate how much bend I'll need to compensate for that little bend there. But I'm running out of time on this video. I'll continue it on the next.